Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
Hey, today, this is Jeff Bacon with DIY Writer Podcast, and we have Aaron Hodges with us. Aaron, all the way from New Zealand, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, Jeff.
Good.
It's a pretty nice sunny day here, actually, in the future. We're
In the future.
Tuesday the 15th of December, so a day ahead.
So everybody over in the U.S. tomorrow is going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, right. It's 28 degrees where I'm at, so.
Oh, wow.
It's sunny and 28 degrees and snow on the ground.
It's about the same here, but a different measurement. Thankfully, we're in summer. I got back here just in time for our winter, so that wasn't the funnest thing.
Well, before the quarantine, you were living in Argentina. Is that what you told me?
Yeah, living in Argentina for 13 months in total, 3 of which were in quarantine.
But now New Zealand is clear. They have no more virus, so you're all good, right?
Yeah, I got back in June, and it was just as they were coming. I think I got released from our quarantine hotels just as we came into level 1, and which was 0 cases, 0 restrictions kind of thing.
Yeah.
And other than a little hiccup in August, we've been all good since then.
Huh. Yeah, it must be nice to be secluded on an island.
Yeah, it's quite a fortunate turn of events.
We're close to that here in the U.S. Almost virus free.
Yeah, totally here.
Yeah, I think we only had 4,000 infections in the county I live in today, so I think we're good.
Yeah, God.
We have a slight problem. We can't keep our butts in our houses, so.
Yeah, well, I can understand the sentiment after being locked in my apartment for 3 months in Buenos Aires, if I'm honest. That was a horror show, but yeah. So
you're one of the contributors to the From the Shadows, the anthology through the Indie Fantasy Addicts group. Plus, you've been authoring for a while. You've got 16 books out.
I started in 2015. Yeah, 16 books, including a little travel guide I wrote, but
which we'll get into
published.
In a minute.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been writing since December 2015, so right on 5 years now is when I first published my first book.
Yeah. So are you completely indie published, or are you do you have a publisher?
Yep, completely indie published. I did go with my series this year, Descendants of the Fall. I've released with audio with Podium Publishing, so that's been a different experience having a publisher in control of that, but they did manage to get a really nice narrator, so I quite like listening to his voice. One of the bonuses.
So you went through Podium for that. Everything else is just you slamming it up to Amazon, eh?
Yeah, exactly. I've even gone outside of Amazon a couple of times, but always come crawling back.
So what's your latest series that you got going on?
It's called Descendants of the Fall. It's kind of a mixture. I wanted to go into, it's a fantasy medieval world, but with a bit of a touch of a post-apocalyptic stuff to it, since it's set in a world where humanity knows about 500 years ago there was this big apocalyptic event, and they don't know much about the time before then, other than it was a utopia of legend, and they used to live alongside the gods, but then there was the gods grew angry at them because some amongst them stole from their magic, and the world was thrown down. So humanity's sort of been clawing back from that event ever since.
So humanity was thrown into a giant timeout of 500 years.
Pretty much. And even then the gods' efforts to kind of take revenge against the people the humans who stole their magic wasn't quite successful, since they have also survived, and their descendants are a kind of subspecies, kind of different type of humanity now, since they've been infected by this magic for 500 years, and so their descendants are called the Tangata. and they've sort of been waging war against humanity for the last decade at least, ever since there was a big dust up between the two races, two species, basically.
Big dust up. Yeah, we're just gonna wipe you out for 500 years and see what happens.
Yeah.
That's a dust up.
Yeah, I found the concept quite interesting of multiple species of humanity, each clawing to survive in a world that's kind of been twisted and has this mysterious past and everything.
Yeah, so did they use COVID?
Well, you'll have to read the series and find out how exactly it happened. But no, they didn't use COVID. But I do have another series that was touched a little bit too close to home in the end. My evolution gene series is written in 2017. 2017. It's set in a dystopian future of the United States.
Yeah.
When and at some point in the novels, I said in the year 2020, the California and the West Coast basically seceded from the Union, and led to a big civil war and so on and so forth. So
it's kind of close, yeah.
And there is a plague in that one, but more in the year 2052, so we don't have to worry about that for now.
Okay, so we just got the little plague right now, not the big one, according to your prophecy.
Exactly. This one turns people into monsters. So.
Oh, that's kind of the rumors of the vaccine that's coming out.
I hope not. I'll take it anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't have to. We won't have the option until March at the earliest here, so we get to watch you guys see how it goes over there.
Great. We'll test that out for you. We'll let you know how it works. Oh shoot. There are a bunch of sci-fi and kind of fantasy books that kind of deal with, something comes out, makes everybody sick, here's the vaccine, makes everybody worse, Yeah. And I enjoy kind of making fun of that. It's like, this could be really cool and to watch, maybe. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean the people that get infected by my virus develop superpowers of various super strength and speed. It's just they go insane at the same time.
Yeah, I'm writing a short story right now where the vaccine actually turns everybody into Bill Gates. You just look like him. You don't have his money.
No, that was one thing I just couldn't understand. Of all the billionaires you'd want to start a conspiracy about this year, I just couldn't understand why they chose Bill Gates. Like Jeff Bezos, come on, dude, doubled his wealth with COVID.
I know.
Or at least Elon Musk, that guy definitely has super villainous.
He's got something going on. He actually reminds me of like a Bond villain.
Yeah, I mean, he's filling the sky with satellites and sending Teslas to Mars. There's something going on there. I mean,
I think he just crashed his 8th or 9th spaceship, saying we almost got there, almost got to land it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no. If I was gonna pick a billionaire, Bill Gates is just boring.
He's retired from Microsoft. Okay.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I think everybody, it wasn't really a conspiracy theory, but he did kind of destroy a good amount of electronics with his virus. I mean, his operating system.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had some problems. I mean, I still use Windows.
They still have some problems. I don't know, but he didn't do himself any favors. Have you seen any of the interviews with him?
No, not really. I just ignore the whole thing.
He's got some sort of an interest in a company that's developing a couple of different vaccines for COVID.
Yeah. I mean, he's
whatever it is.
Vaccines for a long time.
And he's out there and he's a big proponent of everybody quarantining and just locking down for years. And the problem is that when you get a billionaire talking about everybody should just lock down, you'll be just fine. Not everybody has the same accommodations that he has.
No.
And
although I will say the New Zealand government gave me $8,000 to stay at home. So
Well, it's still not Bill Gates money.
No.
And you're probably not living in the same pad that he is. But and then he's when he's being interviewed, he's like, well, there's a lot of people that got sick and some things that really hurt him real bad, but it's up to the FDA to, really choose whether or not this is a good vaccine or not. And, I don't think he really meant what he said. He's so odd when he's interviewed. I mean, even when he was at Microsoft talking about technology.
I mean,
he's
he
got
was never the charismatic billionaire, was he? He's
awkward.
I mean,
when it comes down to it, he's a nerd.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a real good presence in an interview. They just interview him and they let him pass because he's got billions and billions of dollars. But it was a typical Bill Gates interview where it's like, oh yeah, Windows doesn't destroy every computer. He kind of took that same kind of nonchalant attitude with, this vaccine doesn't kill everybody, just some, and some it really hurts bad. Okay, Bill,
No, I mean, I've been following the vaccine. Well, I had 3 months of my apartment for doing nothing other than writing. So I've followed the vaccine developments pretty closely. And they've said right from the start that the side effects are going to be a bit more, not serious, but unpleasant than normal vaccines because they need time to develop the dosages and everything like that. So at least Pfizer's this
the only thing that
stuff
irritates me about it is that they came up with it awfully fast. And I get they're trying to, but usually a vaccine takes at least at a minimum 18 months.
Well, a lot of them had a head start because the SARS-CoV spike protein is the same one from SARS-1. So they basically had already been developing a vaccine. A lot of these companies for SARS, they just ran out of funding because SARS went away. Yeah. And so they took the plans from that, especially companies like Oxford. I think Moderna was like an old back burner project. I'm not sure about Moderna. I know Oxford for sure. They basically just took the blueprint from SARS-1 and like, okay, we're going to try this and modify it a bit for the SARS-2.
Yeah.
But and then I mean, a lot of the problems with vaccine development for start is basically just money and enrolling enough people in a clinical trial and getting exposure to the disease. And obviously we haven't had many problems with this one.
See, now you're being all logical about it. I'm still kind of in fantasy land where I'm like, I like to stir the shit pot a little bit and then lick the spoon and spit it back out because, there's a lot of people say, look, this is going to change you genetically. And I'm like, cool. Let's see how this works,
Yeah, I like
this is
it.
Really a cool experiment,
you
morbid son of a bitch.
And the mRNA vaccines do sound scary if you don't understand biology. I'm actually a biologist by profession. That was my degree before I turned to this fantasy sideshow thing.
Well, let's pretend you don't. Let's say we're gonna take your genomes and change them ever so slightly.
Well, that's what my evolution gene series is actually about, is the scientists that decide to kidnap children and experiment on them and change their genetics. So I actually know the function of how to do that, but sadly, don't want to disappoint you, but secret is it's not going to change your DNA.
Well, I think that there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. There's a lot of people that panic every time something comes out that, it's a little different, or there's some sort of a change, or, something like this, you're coming off and then all of a sudden you could take this and it's going to solve everything. And they're, they start thinking, oh, it's the government going to try and kill me, that whole.
Yeah. It is pretty convincing. When you think about it, at this stage, we have the choice of stay at home or get the vaccine.
Yeah.
And that's basically it. And it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to get the vaccine if that's the case. So if there was a global organization controlling everything, you could very much believe that this would be a grand conspiracy.
Here's my theory on that. I have a really hard time believing that there's a global conspiracy or a global cabal that's in charge of everything.
Yeah.
Because they suck if they are. They really do suck at what they're doing. They, take the corniest Bond villain and it's like, okay, it's like the guy that sits there and has the whole monologue with Bond while Bond's getting ready to kill him.
Yeah.
You'll never beat me. He blows him up or blows him out into space or whatever. Worst Bond movie ever. That would be the Cabal in my mind.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
the
definitely.
conspiracy theories. I just don't think they're nearly as organized. I could believe that there's 16 or 17 different groups that are trying to do it, and they're all fighting and they all kind of screw up every damn day. But that's more of a comedy than it is a an actual conspiracy theory. But somebody will get mad and say, "No, I have proof," but don't send it to me, please.
Yeah, but, no, you got to mail that proof by pen drive, right? And DHL or U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, make sure it doesn't get scanned. Yeah, he'll make it here just like all the ballots did for the election.
Oh yeah, God. It's a crazy world, but it's been an interesting year.
Yeah,
I'll give it that. I can't believe it's been a year, but
the problem that I have with the vaccine is that I can make up all these great stories in my mind as to what it's going to do and how it's going to affect society, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be really boring in the end because you just get a shot, maybe get a little sick, get a second shot, get a little sick, and then it's okay, and I'll suck.
Yep.
I mean,
sadly,
yeah,
I mean, this year has basically ruined all dystopian, post-apocalyptic stories for us because it's like, okay, well, we get real close to the world ending, and then everyone just stayed at home for a few. Oh, sure.
Shit. Yeah, you really have to step it up from here.
Yeah, I mean, 20 just threw everything at the board and saw what it was like. Someone was trying to see what would stick.
I think the best idea I've had so far is that all political chairs are inherited. They're passed down by their families, kind of like royalty, type thing. I think that's the only thing I've come up with so far to step it up a little bit. I've got a series that kind of turns into dystopian that I'm writing.
Yeah,
it's not any good, but that's exactly where I'm at with it, is trying to step it up because look, they're locked in house. They're locked in their place for 3 months. Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. Actually, on that one, it's interesting. In Mexico, they had these few years back, they had massive protests of teachers because the government told them their children couldn't inherit their job as teachers anymore.
Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't hear about
apparently that. You didn't need a qualification. If your parent was a teacher, you become a teacher. So you can get weird inheritance. You can inherit weird positions, so why not president or VP or senator?
Yeah, it's passed down.
I hear you basically we're developing landowners again, or like nobility and noble. I can very easily imagine in 50, 100 years a noble class coming out of our current problem of housing. Like, I think it's quite similar in a lot of places in the world. But yeah, if you don't own a house, we just saw house prices increase by like 20% in 3 months or something. Some crazy amount.
Well, there's no inventory, I suppose. No one's building anything new, so all the old stuff.
Well, we've never built enough houses, and then they've lowered interest rates, and then everyone wanted to buy a house, and everyone got terrified that they wouldn't be able to buy a new house, so they didn't sell their houses, and then
Excellent. Which is something you're dealing with today.
Yes, so thankfully I'm moving into a new house, so I'm not dealing with it anymore, but holy crap, were the last 3 months stressful. Yeah, when you like the houses I missed in June, I think in July I put an offer on a house, missed out by about 30 grand. The house today, 3 months later, 4 months, I don't know what month it is anymore. 5 months later would now be worth at least 100K more than what they paid for it.
Oof.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so and I had to buy on that market rather than I should have bought something back then. Just kept missing out by a little bit, and then ended up just throwing everything we had at this place. So because it was basically the last chance.
Yeah.
To own a house in New Zealand.
But you got it.
Yeah, we got it. And I could show you my living room, but I don't really want to.
Nah, don't do it. Don't do it. Everybody knows what moving day looks like.
A lot of pillows and blankets. Well, I'm setting it up also as an Airbnb over the summer, over the Christmas New Year's period to pay for the mortgage for a couple of months at least.
Yeah.
And so I've had what I'm actually going to really just pay for is all the sheets and bedding and beds and everything I've had to buy for it.
Yeah.
Basically paying to furnish my house, I guess. So that's something.
That's kind of crazy. And it's morning over there, and then come about midday you'll be moving. So
Yep, that's the hope. Load up the boxes after this and head off.
head off. Like I said, your planning's impeccable. And then after that, Christmas shopping, according to what you told me.
Yeah, I started yesterday. I bought a cricket set, which is like our version of baseball, I guess.
I'm familiar with cricket.
Yeah, we're pretty good at it here. But got a set for my niece and nephew, and then I've got about 10 other people to buy for
So you don't want me to publish this before Christmas then?
Oh, they're fine. Oh yeah, true. No. They don't know which ones I got it for. To be fair, my family probably won't listen to this anyway.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty slack. I should just give them some of my books for Christmas. That'd solve everything.
That'd solve everything. Does your family read your books, or?
My mum does. It's very awkward if I have to put in any sex scenes or anything. I'm always like thinking, oh God, if mum reads this. But other than that, no. I
just do a special print version where chapter 23 is missing.
Yeah. A lot of my friends read them, so that's good. But yeah, mostly it's people in the States and the UK that read my books. So this summer I've tried to, I took a couple of my first in series books to some Christmas fairs and things to sell in paperback to try and get some more Kiwis reading my work. But it's a bit tricky selling in paperback, I think.
Yeah. So do you sell them? I mean, you speak Dutch over there basically, don't you? Or is it English? English.
Despite being named after a Dutch province,
it's all English over there, right?
Abel Tasman never actually landed here.
Oh,
he just kind of sailed past. Well, that looks interesting. Oh, those Maori people look pretty scary. I'm not going to land there. He said, reminded of him of his home, but he was too terrified of the natives to land, which is fair enough because a bunch of Captain Cook's crew had some dust ups with the locals when they did finally come ashore.
Yeah, I've. Do you remember? God, what was the name of that? Where they'd have the different warriors from different time periods go battle each other, and they test their weapons out on the ballistic gel dummies, and they take measurements to see what the damage was of a full strike or a half a strike or whatever, and then they digitize the fight between these two different warriors. So they'd like have a ninja and a samurai. Okay, well then they'd have a gladiator and like a somebody from I don't know, like the French army or something like that. I mean, they did all sorts of weird things.
Yeah,
Vikings versus Muslims, or I mean, it was really goofy the way they do things, and Egyptians versus whatever, and they take these ancient warriors and they put them up against each other, and then they digitize it, and then they figure out who won just based on what the damage their weapons would do. I think my favorite one is Vampire against Zombies.
I'm gonna have to look up that show. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, it was on I can't remember if it was on Sci-Fi or History or something like that over here.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'm seriously running short on shows this year, so I need to.
Yeah, that was interesting. The ninja versus everybody else was kind of fun too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did he survive?
What's that? Oh, the ninja always won. I think the program was screwed up. I don't know why. The ninja always won. Somebody would be like, no, he didn't. But yeah, he did.
Fair enough.
Ninja's
pretty badass.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know. So what else is going on over there? You're moving, you got Christmas, it's middle of summer, beautiful day.
Yeah, I mean,
16 books.
you could almost call New Zealand boring. That's why I leave so often, and why my 16th book is a travel guide.
Which you actually released last Christmas.
Oh yeah, just in time for this
The pandemic.
It's quite a fun little book. I wrote it because it's kind of a tradition in New Zealand to leave and do our overseas experience after university or school and spend a couple of years traveling the world or living in London or wherever. And I just kind of never stopped that because I published my first book while I was traveling, and then realized I could make money and travel the world. So I kept doing that. And so my travel guide is called Solo, a down-to-earth guide to traveling the world alone. Since, a lot of people don't realize you can, you could, and hopefully can again. We'll see. can just go and travel the world and meet people and really get out there and see the place, and you don't have to wait for friends to have the right timing or for the right person to come along with you.
Well, and given the state of the world right now, I think you could reclassify that as fiction.
Yeah, pretty much. It does seem a little far out there now.
Yeah, traveling to a different country. Oh, sure. Yeah. See that happening anytime soon.
Well, we're still hoping to be able to go to Australia sometime, but
well, what's going to happen is that, you'll be able to go to Australia. You'll be able to go to London. It's just that you won't be able to come to the US, and the US won't be able to come, any Americans won't be able to come there because we've been banned because we're still, just gigantic germ bags.
Fighting over the vaccine.
Fighting over the vaccine. Yeah. Half of us will take it. Half of us won't. Yeah.
Well, I have feelings, but no, I think I'm optimistic about next year. We'll see. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know why.
I don't have that same faith in humanity that you have over there in New Zealand.
Yeah, I guess it might be a New Zealand thing that we have faith in humanity still.
You're kind of secluded over there, so
Yeah, we're
you're kind of futuristic. You know what tomorrow's going to be all about.
Yeah. That's a hint from the future. It's not as bad as we think it's going to be.
For anybody who didn't follow that, that's a time zone thing. It's a stupid joke.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, everybody's going.
Yeah, only wait and find out. I'm looking forward to next year. Well, good things are coming, probably. More books at least.
I think the biggest thing that can happen is if we can actually get in around where I live, we can get things under control, and there is a vaccine. I think that I think there'll be a new normal, but I don't think anything's going to go back to quote unquote normal. No,
I mean, there's certain changes for sure that aren't reversing working from home and things, but I think there's a lot of good changes.
There's some good. There's some. We're gonna have a lot of businesses that just aren't gonna make it. It's gonna take years to.
And that's a shame because that doesn't have to happen. With proper support for small businesses, it wouldn't. But we're here. Our unemployment rate is much lower than they thought, like around 5%. They're forecasting up to 10% a few months back and things. But like I said earlier, we got all the small businesses, including us authors, got given quite a nice little sum of money from the government for the first, basically minimum wage for 10 weeks.
Yeah,
that you could use. Businesses could use to pay their employees, and anyone and self-employed people could use to pay their bills if they couldn't go to work and everything.
Yeah,
and then that got extended as well for people for businesses that were still affected after lockdown.
Yeah, and we've had some programs like that over here. It's just that I don't think that they did nearly enough.
Yeah,
they kind of. I think the government kind of went half-assed on it. And I think the Democrats were
no,
half-assed and the Republicans were half-assed. And I think the whole lot of them just ended up fighting against each other versus actually doing anything real good.
They were just wanted to get it out as quickly as possible. They basically said for every company, if your income is going to drop by more than 30%, then you can get this $5,000 per full-time employee and I think $3,000 per part-time employee. But you can't fire those employees for the 10 weeks that this is meant to last for.
Yeah, which was
they extended that another 8 weeks for those that were still affected.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? We started in March, and it's been on and off ever since then. And it's just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Crazy. Yeah, it's a shocker because I'm not anti-lockdown, but I mean after Buenos Aires, it was kind of like, well, some countries don't have the option to lock down. They don't have the privilege that they could get money to their civil. So like in Peru, after 2 months of lockdown, literally everyone just said, we're going back to work. And the government's like, no, you're not. You're under quarantine. And they're like, no, we're not. We're going back to work. And this suddenly one day the streets were full again as everyone, because 70% of the poor in Peru don't even have a bank account. So there's no way to give them money. To get the money, or even a official address and things like that. So, but it's such a shame for a country like America and England and so many other places around the world that have struggled.
Well, I think I was making fun of it back in March, and I continue to make fun of it. Anytime that you have to tell somebody wash your hands. That may be the biggest thing that may stop it. You know that you live in a country where, maybe this isn't going to go quite right.
My personal favorite was my American friends saying that they were surprised that you meant to cough into your elbow. And I'm like, you weren't taught that at primary school? We haven't been taught that cough into your hand. So I don't even know when they last taught that one.
Well, I think the real problem, or not the real problem, one of the problems is that our government told everybody to wear masks. And there's a lot of people that were fighting against that and everything else. And then it came out that, they said, well, COVID's not actually an airborne, it's just all on surfaces. And then they came out and said, well, it is airborne too. And they kept on, bump. And then the CDC over here kept on changing their stats. And go up and down and go side to side. And you really had no idea what the hell was going on. And then you had the people that were saying, well, this is all just one big conspiracy. They're going to try and control you. First, they're going to make you wear masks. Then, my joke was, next is the ball gag. What?
It's an attractive conspiracy. I mean,
it is.
It's an explanation for a complex, scary thing that was happening and a way to avoid. I mean, when people were scared, they turned to strange things. Come on.
Well, the other thing is that the year before they were shaming people for not being in shape. Oh my God, there's so many people need to be doing this, eating right, and then afterwards, after all this, they're like, well, all lives matter. We don't want anybody to die. And it's mostly the people that have health problems that are the ones that, really get into a lot of trouble. There are a lot of people who have complicating conditions that didn't even know it when they're walking around, and they get infected and they're like, all of a sudden down in a bed with a respirator. And I think the nice thing about it is I think people are more aware of some of the things that they have, or that, maybe the shape that they're in or whatever can really affect your health. And I think that might be, even though it's been devastating, but I think that might be a silver lining going forward. It might, you do kind of have to take care of yourself,
it's so surprising when you think about the number of, like, we're hopefully we're a screenshot of what the future might look like for you guys once you get it under control. And we've seen a lot less traffic in our city centers as people. A lot of my friends, they'll still get to work a couple of days of the week from home now. So that means there's a lot less congestion. people are cooking for themselves a lot more because they couldn't get takeout for a while, and spending more time with their family, being more mindful of their health, like you were saying. There's some benefits out of it, and hopefully we'll see those continue.
In the U.S., they're estimating that divorce rates are going to triple this year.
That might not be a bad thing either.
That might not be a bad thing either. Okay. People might be happier. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe if they're getting out of bad relationships is not a bad thing, I guess. That's
I just
made you realize that.
Oh my God, who are you? I didn't realize I was living with you. Sorry. We got to go.
Yeah, God. No, it'll be, I think I could get excited about what the world's going to look like. It'll take a bit of effort, but I'll get excited.
I think the biggest thing is if we can get everything under control and travel resumes. I think that'd be a big thing for everybody. Yeah. And my guess is the city streets will empty because everybody be going to vacation.
Yeah, I mean, we've missed the tourists here. That's our biggest / only industry that's really affected now is our international tourism, and I think it's also I think countries are poorer without this interaction with each other, without seeing these other cultures and societies, with us going to another place and coming there. I mean, obviously I've traveled a lot, but even just being in New Zealand right now, without the usual backpackers and tourists that we have coming in, it feels a little more empty than normal.
Yeah.
We're a very small country, so there's only 5 million of us anyway, so it tends to feel pretty empty. But without the extra couple of million tourists we have a year,
you're kind of open for business and no one's showing up.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, can you travel to? You're probably still stuck in quarantine for 14 days, I would assume, if you travel into New Zealand.
There's still a ban on foreigners at the moment. Unfortunately, well, they don't have capacity in the hotels, basically.
Yeah.
You also have to stomp up $3,000. They're quite nice hotels. I was, and the food was great. When Trump was saying that there was a brief moment where Trump started talking about New Zealand and our internment camps or something. And I didn't realize they served you eggs Benedict in internment camps.
Did he really call it an internment camp?
I think he used some other words. Or maybe it was his Katie McInerney or someone that started talking about that, because for our second outbreak, they basically heavily suggested, it wasn't entirely, there was some families that stayed in their house, but they heavily suggested they move into the hotels so that they could separate sick family members from non-sick family members.
Yeah.
Because apparently in our first lockdown, there were some families that were quarantined in their houses for 3 months because one family member would get it and then another family member would get it, and it would just go around the entire family until everyone eventually was infected.
It's my theory that the press and Twitter and Facebook they're going to really miss Trump.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to be sitting there middle of February going, well, what the hell do we talk about now? Okay.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it being boring again.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe let's make shit up. Who knows?
To be fair, I just turned off news from the US for 2 years after Trump got elected, but he eventually sucked me back in.
I am constantly, I shouldn't say constantly, but I tune in just long enough to try and figure out what's going on, and then I have to shut it off. Both of our political parties are just suck. The Republicans and the Democrats are just a bunch of idiots. Yeah.
I'll say normally both our political parties are competent, and then we have smaller parties that support them.
Yeah.
I'd say that the opposition party after COVID fell into a bit of disarray, and that's why Labour completely crushed them at the elections, because Labour's still only competent. They're good. They try and do good things, but it's still, I mean, I mentioned this housing crisis.
I should qualify that by saying I think the national parties suck. I think locally, I don't think they're all that different. I think they they work together, and I think they're not too bad.
That was
But
good. Our local government councils are pretty useless.
yeah, I think for the most part they do all right. I think nationally they're just a joke, and I think they just, you watch C-SPAN where it's unedited and it's just everybody on the floor of Congress, and you're like, oh my god,
Oh, that's
all of
every
these
Congress.
guys are just buffoons.
That's every Congress. I
Yeah.
don't know what the answer to that one is.
And you see somebody who is portrayed by the news as somebody really as an intellectual, and you listen to him speak, is like, oh my god,
Yeah.
did he oh, okay, yeah, never mind. Checklist.
Yeah, no, I don't watch our Parliament. It would drive me insane.
Yeah, every now and then I
Most
turn
of them
it on
do.
just to remind me of who I don't ever want to be.
Yeah.
So what do you got cooking as far as new books coming out?
I'm writing the last book in this Descendants of the Fall series that I'm hoping to release in January, if I'm really lucky. Probably early February, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's quite exciting. I like finishing off a series. I get really excited as I'm wrapping everything up, bringing all the characters and plots together. And
do you get kind of sad about it?
no, not usually. It's more of a satisfied feeling that so long as I've ended it how I wanted it to go, and everything sort of comes together nicely, it's more of a I often also come back to a series. I'll quite often my series will end with the plot wrapped up, but there'll be some big change to the world quite often.
Mm-hmm.
That lets me come back to that world and write something new and different in it.
Cool.
So yeah, so like my original fantasy world, The Three Nations, which I've written 3 series in now, they're all separate. Like the first series is the Sword of Light trilogy, which will actually be on special until Christmas. And actually, I'll be putting that on special today or tomorrow for 99 cents for the box set.
Oh, cool.
And so that's all about gods and magic, and then after and a chosen one kind of thing, very traditional fantasy.
Yeah.
And then after that, the Legend of the Gods trilogy, which is set 100 years after that. So quite obviously new characters, new settings, the world's changed quite a bit, and some of the original characters might show up. But yeah, so, it's a fun.
Do you have another travel book coming out this Christmas?
Yeah, it's a map of my living room.
That was my joke.
Yeah, I suppose actually I could do one for New Zealand, but I don't see why you would, because no one's coming.
What you'd see if you could travel to New Zealand.
Hold on a sec.
Your short story, Birth of Darkness, in the book From the Shadows.
Yeah, so that, as we were just talking about with my Legend of the Gods and the Sword of Light trilogy, that actually falls in between the 2 trilogies. And it's actually how the main villain for the Legend of the Gods comes about. It's a story about him and his cousin, who are both children of 2 of the main characters from the Sword of Light trilogy. And they're having a little adventure in the woods, trying to hunt down some demons that some rumors that they're in the forest killing people. And Theo is the main character whose point of view it's told from, and his cousin Caleb, I believe, who possesses magic and it wants to be a hero like his father and his mother and prove himself to the world and everything. And yeah, they're friendly cousins and they love each other, but there's a bit of resentment because Theo doesn't have magic himself, and most of his family, his mother and his uncle and everyone have magic, but he was born without magic. So it's sort of the tale of how he decides to deal with that.
Cool. Luckily, it's a nice hefty 714-page book that's for free on Amazon. So if somebody's looking for something to do over Christmas.
Yeah, there's even a paperback for it, isn't it?
There is.
almost feel like I want to order it for myself.
I've got 3 left.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do the paperbacks for all my box sets as well. They're quite. It feels nice to have a big book in my hand. Although I just purchased Brandon Sanderson's latest book, and I'm like, holy crap! How do people? I started reading Brandon Sanderson the week before quarantine, and
Have you finished it yet?
I haven't finished it. I only started reading it last night. So
Oh,
not even close. But I've read just about every other book by Brandon Sanderson in my 3 months of quarantine.
jeez. That's a
So
hefty
it's all been on
workload.
so it was all on my Kindle, but now I've like got one in my hand. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I can see why people would pay $20 for the 15 US, I think, for the Kindle, or $20 for the paperback. And now I'm like, okay, I can see why you'd do that.
Yeah.
But it does feel good. It's good to have a proper book in my hand. Gotten used to the Kindle now.
Yeah.
Adapted.
You could add up all my books and it still wouldn't be one of his books.
Yeah. No. That's,
Yeah, no.
a tomb, and the writing is small too. So it's impressive. And did he write that in a year?
Yeah, I don't know. Did he?
He releases a lot of books. So I think he releases 1 or 2 books a year. So
Yeah, and they're not small books. They're
no. I'm like, I guess my entire trilogy would be maybe half the size of his. Hard to tell because of the writing size difference, and it's also a bigger book than mine in terms of so, and finer paper too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's pretty much got everything.
Yeah, you can barely fit that thing in a paperback, I think.
Yeah, I have one of his books that I downloaded because everybody said you have to read them, and I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not reading this. I don't have enough time in my day right now. I just really don't.
Yeah.
And that was 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. I still haven't gotten back to it. I will someday, but
I was really struggling with it that week or two before COVID when I started the first of the Stormlight saga, and I was like, oh, this guy's like it's pretty slow, and I'm struggling to understand what the hell is going on in this world. And then I had a lot of time on my hands. I did for the starting book. It was I liked more things like Steel Sight and Steel, whatever it was called, his superhero trilogy.
Did you have problems writing during the whole quarantine thing, or?
It got harder and harder. Like I have quite a specific routine where I'll take my laptop to a cafe and listen to music and drink a coffee.
Yeah.
And then I tried to exercise a lot more in the last year before starting. That was actually a bloody New Year's resolution of mine this year, was to get fit, and did about 3 months, and then you weren't even allowed outside to go for a run in Buenos Aires, so that had a brick wall, almost literally. And by the end of it, my body. This is why I'm like, after 3 months of quarantine, not being able to go out for a run or anything, my body was just feeling awful, in my mind as well. So it was a definitely struggle. I finished my second book in the series during quarantine in New Zealand. I think just being able to go out of the hotel downstairs to go for a run around the hotel was a big change, and helped a lot. And even just seeing some of my friends in the States on the way home, because they had to fly home for the States rather than the usual direct route.
Yeah.
And I think all that helped and gave me the boost I needed just to finish that last draft.
Yeah, I noticed that my daily interactions with people kind of gave me the will to write, and then you take that away, and all of a sudden it's like, what do I do? And I just kind of I wasted an awful lot of time that I could have been actually doing something. I was setting up a business too, and I was I was trying to make some serious changes during the quarantine that hopefully will pay off at some point in time. But you know, I was into this change mode, and writing just wasn't one of those things that I did this year. I just started back up. I just started back up in October, writing again, and it's like,
oh wow.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, good on you getting back into it. It's tough. I struggled, and if I hadn't come back, I would have had a hard time continuing to write. And
yeah,
I'm fortunate because my book talks about solo travel, and now you don't have to be alone. But I go to some places where there's not many travelers, like traveling through Turkey alone. I did not see many foreigners or people that spoke English. So I've spent a lot of time in my own company. So that was a bonus. But after 3 months, it was like, this would be well past the time where I'd normally take a flight or bus back to some main tourist route and start talking to people again.
I try and write every day. And what I was doing during quarantine, I don't consider writing. I barely, everything just sucked, and it's hard to get back to actually doing something. I don't know. Right now I'm looking at everything that I've done, and it's like, oh, that's all shit. Okay, it's all shit.
Most of my first drafts are pretty shit.
I don't know. It is what it is.
But yeah, that's true.
It is what it is. But
it's just been that this year, hasn't it? God.
This year's been shit. It's just been shit. Let's get rid of
it. Don't look at my Instagram photos. Since June, don't look at those.
Shit. All righty. Well, I want to wish you luck with your move today. Hopefully that goes without a hitch and everything else.
I wish you guys good luck for the vaccine rollout. I think you guys started today, didn't you?
It sounds like they started rolling it out, and it's up to the states whether or not they actually roll it out to their constituents or not.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to kind of be state by state whether or not when it's available. From what I understand, I think February or March is probably the common time.
I think that's what I'd pick as well. Anyway, it's coming.
We'll see. I kind of want to see pictures of the test results, and it's there's a lot of posts on social media about people that have taken the vaccine, all of a sudden develop Bell's palsy and this and that, and blah blah blah. And so there's gonna be a bunch of scary stuff out there, which probably has no merit, no basis. To probably just take pictures off the internet and say, look what happened to this guy. It'll be something from one of your books where it's just fangs and I don't know, whatever.
No, it doesn't hurt to be cautious. I think by March millions of people have had it, so should know a bit more by then.
Yeah, by March, and then you can take it, and then by June or July we'll have the zombie apocalypse, and that'll be fun to deal with. And then
stock up on ammo.
yeah, right.
All right.
I think it's all hatchets and stuff at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
Just watching The Walking Dead just to prepare. But anyway, other than that, any last things for your readers?
No, just Descendants to the Fall is my latest series, and The Sword of Light will be 99 cents until Christmas, probably New Year's, actually.
New Year's? Okay, cool. The all the links and everything for your social media and stuff I'll put in the show notes. And other than that, I wish you the best of luck.
Awesome. Cheers.
So
thank you, man.
Probably see you in the groups a little bit here or there.
Of course.
Again, you're also a part of Indie Fantasy Addicts, best group on the internet and Facebook, if you guys want to join that. But other than that, I'm going to bid you farewell. This is Jeff Bacon with the DIY Writer Podcast saying, you know what? Keep your chin up and have a great day. Bye now.
Please hit the subscribe button.
I get a bonus for every subscriber, and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me, please.